All right, in lesson 3.01b, we're going to work with something called monomials, as you can see here. What is a monomial? Monomial means when you're only working with one term. Okay, so what do I mean with one term? Just like when you only have a number, like 7, like 3, like 5. See, that will be one term. Or when you only have a letter, like X, like Y. Okay, that will be one term. Or when you have a number and a letter together that are multiplying. So here, when you see 3x, that means 3 times x. In the second example here, negative 5y squared, that means negative 5 times y to the power of 2. So all of these are monomial because all of them are just one term. Examples that are not monomial, 3 plus x, see there I have two terms. See, 1 and 2. Fractions are not monomials. So that's why phi over y is not a monomial. Okay. And square root of x, when you have square roots, that is not a monomial either. Okay. So monomials are one term, and it's always just a number, just a variable, or a multiplication of a number with a variable. And I forgot to mention the exponents of the variables are whole numbers. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply monomials. Like for example, if you look at problem number 1, this is something we learned in module 1. And here we are multiplying. I'm going to change the exponents, but I'm going to keep the letter. So here we're multiplying x to the 20th power times x to the 31st power. And like we did in module 1, when you multiply powers with the same base, and here my base are the x's, when they're the same letter, what you're going to do is you're going to keep the base. And what you're going to do with the exponents, you're going to add them. So 20 plus 31 is 51. This is something we did in module 1. And we call what I highlighted in yellow. Okay, so in fact, all of this here, that's one monomial. Here's another monomial. So I'm multiplying two monomials. That's the idea of lesson 301b. Let's go to the next problem. In the next problem, problem number 2, what you see in each parentheses, again, I'm going to change the numbers. So 3 times x to the 12th power in parentheses times 9. I'm not going to use 9. Let me use a different number. Let's say I use 8. 8 times x to the 25th power. Okay. Everything you see in each parentheses, that is a monomial. Okay. So 3 times x to the 12th power is like the 3x you saw on the top here that I explained before. See, in algebra, we don't put the center dot. What we do is you just write it together. So like 3x to the 12th power. Okay. And we're going to multiply. And then again, the 8 times x to the 25th power. In algebra, we don't put the center dot. We put them together. 8x to the 25th power. And basically, the way you multiply that is like what I put right here. How do you multiply? Well, you're going to multiply the numbers with the numbers. So the 3 and the 8, we're going to multiply them. But again, I want you to be aware there's some fancy words we use for those big numbers that are multiplying the letter. What I underline in red, we call it coefficients. That's how we call them. And the coefficients are the numbers multiplying the letters. So we're going to multiply 3 times 8, which is 24. And I'm going to multiply the letters that are the same. So I'm multiplying the x's. I'm going to keep the x. And what I'm going to do with the exponent 12 and 25, I'm going to add them. And 12 plus 25 is 37. And that's how you do problem number 2. Let's go to the next one. In problem number 3, again, I'm going to do a similar one. We have, let's say I put here 4 times x to the negative 20th power times, now here comes the next parenthesis, 5 times x to the negative 11th power. Okay. Again, like I did in the previous problem, everything in the parentheses is what we call monomial. Okay, everything in the parentheses is a monomial. In algebra, so you start getting used to see things in algebra, this center dot between the 4 and the x to the power negative 20 is not written. We just put them together. Okay, it's understood they're multiplying each other. So this will go in the first parenthesis. Times, so again, we don't put the center dot. If we're using parentheses, we're not going to put the center dot. And then the second parenthesis, instead of writing 5 times x to the power negative 11, we just say 5x to the negative 11. I just want you to start getting used to the way math problems are written in algebra. Even though what I wrote on the bottom here is the same thing what I wrote that is written on the top here. Okay, so how do we multiply these monomials like I put up here? Okay, you're going to multiply the numbers with the numbers. Again, remember the numbers. These numbers I underline in red. They're called coefficient. Okay. You're going to multiply the 4 times 5. Use your calculator if you have to. That will be 20. And then you're going to multiply the letters that are the same. So I have x's. I'm going to multiply the x's. But you're not really multiplying the x. You're keeping the x. And what you're going to do is you're going to add the exponent. So negative 20 plus negative 11, it will be negative 31. And that will be my answer for this multiplication. Okay, let's go problem number 4. All right, for problem number 4, we are multiplying. Now here we don't have any numbers, we only have letters. So let me just do this. So let's say I have x to the 12 times x to the 9 times x to the 4th. See? Now here you're multiplying more than 2 letters, more than 2 monomials, but it's still done the same way, okay? By the product rule that we learned in module 1, when you're multiplying powers with the same base, see I'm multiplying x's. What you're gonna do is you're gonna keep the base, gonna keep the x. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna add the exponents. Okay, in fact, I didn't like how I wrote those arrows or these lines. What you're gonna do now is you're gonna add the exponent. 12 plus 9 is 21. 21 plus 4 is 25. And that's how you do problem number 4. Let's go to the next one. All right, problem number 5. Here we have 2 monomials. Let me write this down again. I'm going to change the exponent. I'm going to keep the same letters. So we have we're multiplying 2 monomials. But this time the monomial consists of 2 different letters, like x to the 30th, y to the 13. See, that all of that in that parentheses is a monomial. And then times, so we're going to multiply by a second monomial, x to the 21st times y to the 7th power. So again, remember what I said. Everything inside the parentheses is what we call monomial. We only have one term, okay? One term in each parentheses, all right? How do we multiply this? We're going to multiply the letters that are the same. So I'm going to multiply the x's with the x's. So I'm multiplying the x's. I'm going to keep the x. And what I'm going to do with the exponent 30 and 21 is I'm going to add them. And 30 plus 21 gives you 51. See, that's by the product rule of exponents. But I'm doing it only with the x's. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. Now I'm going to multiply the y's. So I'm going to keep the y. Okay, I'm going to keep the y. And what I'm going to do with the exponents of the y, I'm going to add them. And that's how I get to the 20th power. And that's how you do problem number 5. And in problem number 6, okay, This is problem number 6. I'm going to do a similar one again. So I'm going to be, let's say I'm multiplying 12 times x to the 15th power, y to the 10th power. And all of that is my first monomial. And we're going to multiply a second monomial. Negative 5 times x to the 40th power times y to the 24th power. Okay. And again, remember each of these parentheses. So all of this is a monomial. All of that is another monomial. And what we're doing is we're multiplying two monomials. Like I wrote up here. How do you multiply monomial? You're going to multiply the numbers with the numbers. So 12 times negative 5. Take the calculator. That will give you negative 60. Now you're going to multiply the letters that are the same. The x's with the x's. So I'm going to multiply these two x's. I'm going to keep the x. And what I'm going to do with those exponents of the x's, I'm going to add them. And 15 plus 40 is 55. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to multiply the y's. Okay, the y's. So I multiply the y's. So that means I'm going to keep the y. And what I'm going to do with the exponents of the y's is I'm going to add them. And 10 plus 24 is 34. And you can see it's not that hard. Okay, just multiply numbers with numbers and the letters with the letters. Okay, and when you multiply the letters that are the same, you add the exponents. Okay, I hope this helps.